Welcome back to my channel. Now, for those of you that watch my channel, you'll probably be aware that for the last 2 years I've been on the quest for looking for a new table saw. Now, my previous table saw, which I've just done a video of on here, that has now gone. That was an Axminster Hobby Series table saw, which was an 8-inch table saw. Cast iron top, induction motor, lovely table saw, but I needed something bigger. So what I wanted was a 10-inch cast iron table saw. So I decided to look through my options and see what I could get. Okay, so I made myself a bit of a list, which I have here, of the table saws that I could possibly get or could possibly want. And basically I listed them all out and weighed up the pros and cons of each one, and obviously the price. So my list was as follows. An SIP or SIP 01332, that's a 10-inch cast iron, 3 horsepower motor, but you need a 16 amp supply for that, and also the bore is a 25.4mm bore. Okay, that was one choice. Next choice was a Record Power TS250C, that's 10-inch cast iron again, 2 horsepower motor, but it actually comes with a sliding carriage, which I didn't really want. I had a sliding carriage on my previous one, didn't really use it that much. They do work well, but I didn't really want one. Then there was the Charnwood W629, and I think there's another one above that as well. I can't remember which one that is. 10-inch cast iron table saw, 3 horsepower motor. I think you only need a 13 amp plug for that, so that was a potential. But again, they come with a sliding carriage, which I didn't really want. Then you've got an iTECH ITWM 01332. 01332, that sounds familiar. It's exactly the same as the SIP 01332. Different colour, but obviously it's marketed as an iTECH, or it's branded as an iTECH. Now I've seen a few other reviews on this one, one of them from Anchor Designs, who did a very in-depth review on this, which was quite good. So check it out if you get a chance. Then this was my favourite originally, the Axminster AT254SB. Now SB is a saw bench, but basically it's very similar to the SIP and the iTECH from the outside. Now I don't know what it's like inside, because obviously I haven't got one, so I can't see, but again I think that needs a 16 amp supply. I know the arbor on that one is 30mm, so getting blades is not a problem at all, but again 10-inch cast iron table saw. Now that comes with, as standard, with a side table and an outfeed table, but both of those are pressed steel. And to get a cast iron side tables, they're extras. Okay, so you've got to pay extra for that. Okay, then obviously there's a one above that, which is the Axminster Trade AT254 LTS. Now this is a proper table saw, 10-inch cast iron, 3 horsepower motor, but I think there's a lot more quality goes into that. So that was getting a bit out of my price range. Then I looked at the Laguna Fusion, very nice looking table saw. Seems to come with the same sort of setup that I need, but again it was getting slightly pricey, so I had to discount that. The Scheppach Precisa 4 saw bench, this seems to be starting to get a bit big and a bit expensive for my taste. So although the side table on that had a funky fold down function, which would be great for my workshop, but the actual saw itself probably too expensive. And finally, a saw stop. Now who doesn't want a saw stop? So one day maybe a saw stop, but this probably way too expensive. So anyway, I searched high and low on the internet, and there seems to be a world shortage of cast iron table saws. As soon as they appear, they disappear. Okay, I did look at another couple, but they seem to have disappeared now. Now there was a Lumberjack 10-inch cast iron, and it had a really good base on it, the mobile base, but that they seem to have disappeared. So I'm glad I haven't bought one of those. But basically, every saw that appears on eBay sells for a hell of a lot of money, or you just can't get them. I'm on the email list from Axminster to let me know when one becomes available, but no, not available. If you check on any of the sites for any of these table saws, they're all back order. Anyway, long story short, I managed to find a second-hand one on eBay, and this is what happened. Yeah, I'd like to add at this point that Keith Brown at Rag and Bone Brown here has also been on the same journey, and he's managed to get a different table saw than me. Very good videos. If you want to check this out, he goes into a lot more detail than I do about the same sort of choices. Okay. Right, so very quickly, I've just found a table saw on eBay. I'm just about to go and collect it because I've bought it. It's in Cambridgeshire, so I'm going to have to go from where I am in Essex up to Cambridgeshire and collect it. But I've got to try and get it in my car. It's to replace this one, which is my Axminster, which is an 8-inch cast iron table saw. The one I'm getting is a SIP 10-inch cast iron table saw. Right, let me get in the car and get going. Right, so we just got in the car. Mrs. Little Workshop's just putting some details in the sat-nav. Car's empty. Hopefully that's going to be full up with a table saw. Right, let's go. Right, it's 4 hours later. I've just arrived back home. Here's the table saw. It's all in the back. Can we see what else we got? Nah. Yeah, all I've got to do now is get it out of the car into the workshop. Cup of tea first, I think. Okay, so after a lot of puffing and blowing and collecting this thing from Cambridge, this is what I've got. Swing around to show you. Right, what I managed to get here is the SIP. Okay, so it's the SIP 01332. Now it's a 10-inch cast iron table saw, and with it I got a selection of stuff. Now apparently this is about 12 years old, but it's only done about 2 years worth of very light work, and then it's been standing. Now as a result of that, there's some issues with it which I have to resolve, but let's see what I've got with my box of goodies. Okay, so obviously I've got the table saw itself, but the other bits I've got are, I've got the front fence, which is massive compared to the old one. Now this is covered in a bit of 10 years worth of yuck, so I'm going to have to find a way of cleaning that off. This is a lot bigger than it used to be on my old table saw. Also got the back rail. It's also covered in the same ick, so I've got to clean that off. I got my fence. Now this is at least twice the size of my old fence. It looks like a nice sturdy fence. It's got the Biesemeyer kind of locking mechanism, and it's also got a micro adjuster here. Now obviously when I assemble it, I'll check to make sure this is working. It's also got the indicator here for your position. Adjustment is via these screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will give you your lateral movement. Again, we'll see that when we set it up. And of course, when you lock this lever here, it not only grips on the front, but it also grips on the back. Okay, there's a little foot there that locks on the back rail. Okay, we'll see that when I assemble it. Also got a small mitre, which this looks quite sturdy. I've tried it in the slots. There's not too much slop, so this looks like I might be able to use it quite a lot. Not normally a fan of these, but as you saw in one of my last videos, I've just started using these. Yeah, okay, they're not too bad once they're set up. Okay, I also got this little fella. Now this is for locking the blade when you're changing it. Okay, this locks the arbor so you can undo the blade and remove the blade safely. I got a little tin of nuts and bolts. Got to find out where they will go. And then I obviously got 2 cast iron side tables or side extensions. Okay, these need dressing the same as the table saw. So I've got two of those. Okay, they're big and they're heavy. Right, let's have a quick look at the table saw. Right, so now I'm a bit handheld so you can actually see what we've got here. On the front of the table saw, obviously we've got the raise and lower. Okay, this raises and lowers the blade. Okay, quite smooth. Could do with a little bit of lubrication. The blade is knackered. Need a new blade in there, obviously. And as I say, it's a, I think it's an inch arbor. Also got a riving knife on it. And somewhere I did also get the shroud for the top. Okay, it's got the standard throat plate. So I'll have to make a zero clearance insert for this. My main concern is this. I've got some, looks like water damage here and here. So this I've got to address. The mitre slots, as I say, the mitre gauge fits in there quite nicely, but there is a little bit of slop, but it's pretty good actually compared to my old table saw. It's quite good. Okay, a 0 voltage switch for your on and off, and obviously quick stop. Here you have a locking mechanism for the raise and lower, and here you have a locking for the tilt. Now the tilt is obviously done by this handle here. Okay, and this tilts from 90 degrees to 45. Okay, and then obviously you lock it with this. Right, what have we got around the other side of the saw? Let's have a quick look here. Alright, so what we've got around the side, we've got the side panel here, which we'll have a look in a second. Around the back of the saw, we've got a 100mm dust port with a takeoff, and that's for the crown guard. And then obviously on the other side we have another access panel and the tilt control. Okay, you've probably seen this. I've made a mobile base for it so I can move it around the workshop. Right, let's have a quick look inside. Okay, so first looking at the inside on the left hand side of it as you would stand in front of it. Obviously here we have the motor. Okay, and we can see, right, okay, so in theory, right, we can see the motor is actually mounted to the table instead of the cabinet. Okay, so that makes this a table saw instead of a cabinet saw. What have we got down here? Oh, right, the dust port is disconnected. This is a 100mm dust port. It obviously sits on here. That's come off, so I've got to fix that. Looking at the mechanism, let's wind it down. Okay, you see the blade there. The movement is quite smooth. Okay, you can see the blade here. I have got this disconnected from the mains, obviously. Okay, the belt doesn't look too bad. You've got tension adjustment on the motor here, which is good. It doesn't look too bad. It's not sawdusty at all in here, so I don't think it's done a lot of work at all. Okay, the tilt mechanism. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, as you wind this, you can see the whole thing pivots. Okay, all looks fairly smooth on this type of mechanism here. Okay, again, it's not covered in sawdust, so I don't think this has done a great deal of work at all. Here, this looks like it could do with some attention. Okay, those teeth are a bit bunged up. Yeah, these teeth are bunged up. Okay, so I've got to give it a bit of a clean up. But it all functions okay. Nothing looks like it's been tampered with. Okay, that's this side. Let's have a look around the other side. Okay, so this is now the left-hand side as you look at the front of the saw. Again, the motor here. Nothing dubious going on here. The belt does look like it could possibly do with changing soon. But for now, until I start using it, I think that'll be okay. All the mechanism here doesn't look damaged. Okay, I shall check to make sure that this goes all the way to 45 degrees and all the way vertical. Okay, that's the back of the NVR switch. Start capacitor on the side of the motor here. Okay. Yeah, this all looks okay. Right, okay, let me get the covers back on it for now. Okay, so that's a quick look over the table and what I've managed to get. I now know what I need to do to get this table up and running. Now, one thing I've just noticed, this table is supposed to be on a 16 amp supply. Okay, but it's got one of these. It's a 13 amp plug. So obviously I'm going to have to convert my workshop to 16 amps. But let's see if it works. I wouldn't advise doing this because obviously if your wiring in your workshop isn't sufficient, you could end up with trouble. Okay, I'll try it just to make sure this works and so you can listen to see how the motor sounds. Okay, right, let's plug this in. Okay, so it's all plugged in now. Let's have a listen to see what it's like. Okay, so it's got a nice induction motor, so it's fairly quiet. So I've got to get that converted. I know what I've got to do. Okay, so there's a quick tour around my new table saw that I managed to get hold of now. I now know what I've got to do. The first thing I've got to address is the water damage on the actual top of the table saw. The side tables have got some rust on them, and again I've got to address the top of those. Then I basically got to assemble it. Just a word of advice as well. The user manual, okay, is readily available on the internet. I've managed to print that off for myself. And I've also looked on the SIP websites and all the components, or a majority of the components, are still available for this model. So happy days all round. So I'll leave it here for this video and then join me in the next video where I can assemble it. Okay, right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Okay, we got a side panel. Oh.